Magandang umaga at ito, check na natin yung mga nanalo sa meme, pati sa cosplay na contest ng Axie. Ayan, check na natin to. At ito ang nanalo sa cosplay. Ayan, ang kinosplay niya si Buba. Ayan, ano na yung effort niya, oh. Nag-edit pa siya niyan. Panigurado. Tapos, ito yung kay Puffy. Yan. Tapos, ito naman yung sa Axie Sisters, si Oleg naman. Ayan, ganda namang Oleg to. Tapos, ayan, ito naman sa sa meme. Yung Snap, shock the world with his turn. Tapos, ito, Big Yaks. Yan. Tapos, meron rin pa dito, ayan, nanalo. At, ito yung, grabe effort na ito. Para sa Puffy. Ayan. Tapos, syempre, titingnan na rin natin yung mga kahit hindi sila nanalo. At yung mga nag-submit rin ng ng mga meme. Pero hindi ko lang sure kailangan mo ata merong may Twitter account para siguro makasali sa nila dito. Kasi lahat sila may Twitter account eh. Kasi diba, paano yung mga nasa Facebook? Pero ayan, ito. Ayan, cheated. Cheated yung card. In the Battlefield 1, Axie lost its heart. He can't move all around because of heartbreak from its lover's affair. Cute naman itong kahit naiyak siya. At, wait lang. Effort rin neto, no? Nagano rin siya, nag-drawing. Ano ba to? Ang drawing rin, neto. Siya ba yung nag-drawing yan? Tapos, ito, lick naman. Remove all the buff from teammates by lick. Tapos, ito yung sa tingin ko talagang panalo talaga. Jesus Christ. Revive an ally. Tapos, 320 damage. Makakapatay ka na nga ng enemy, tapos makakapag-revive ka pa. Tapos, yan. End of June, S&P will pump. Sana nga mabot nga sa ganyang price. Pero, medyo imposible, pero sana nga. Ito pa, ayan, nag-send rin sila ang Axie Sister na meme. Yan. Tapos, SLP will not pump. Add one raging scholar to the Axie community. Ayan. Tapos ito, Buba Army. Ito rin. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, may Cardo Dalisa. Immortality. Attack all enemies and gain immortality to the Axie who use it. Pero bakit 8 lang yung attack niya? Tapos, ito rin yung nakikita ko rin eh, na parang okay rin manalo kasi effort rin to. Nag-drawing pa siya. Or ayan, gumawa pa siya ng artwork. Target any community next turn. After the community is attacked, add 3 moral boosts to your team. Ayan. So, 120 yung attack. Ito rin pa. Yan. Gumawa rin sila ng meme din sa hacking nga na nangyari sa Ronin. Ayan. 615 yung attack. Tapos, ayan. Stop war. Ito, cryptopeirosis. Steal all small love potion from your opponent. Ito yung Buba. Yun nga eh. Ako nga rin eh. Nauna ko narinig yung yung Buba. Kasi sa ibang bansa kasi yung boba na milk tea. Yan, sikat yan. Ano to? Siguro ang na to, parang gusto niya ng milk tea. Ayan, si Buba. Tapos ito, fun fart. 1,000 yung attack. Tapos apply stinky fart and the player will fart in real life. Tapos, ito, isa pa to. Yan, Jiho's Blessing. Pump SLP and AXS to the moon. Tapos, ayan, Good Day Manager daw sa Axie Origin. Tapos ito pa, ayan. Yung Axie, Filipino-inspired na Axie. Ayan, Yaraya screen. As if like Pinoy baiting for 4 turns. Ayan. Tapos, i-check na rin natin ito. Ang story nila ng mga starter Axie. Siyempre, halos babasahin lang rin naman natin to. So, okay, check na natin to. Oleg, Oleg is a veteran. Ayan, si Lolo Oleg is a veteran warrior with a lifetime of fighting experience who recently retired to become a turnip farmer. One of his most distinctive characteristic is the large scar on his back. Ayan, large. Ay, yung scar, which he acquired as he protected his fallen comrade during a, during a ferocious battle many years ago. Wait lang. During the fight, Oleg leaped in front of his friend just as a chimera viciously attacked, nearly killing Oleg in the process. Okay, he was ultimately saved by his trusty helmet. Okay, yan yung helmet niya, which he still wears to this day, despite its rust and misshapen nature. Okay. As Oleg is a brave, calm, and patient teacher who loves to share his knowledge with others. It's no surprise that he was tasked to mentor and train the next generation of frontier soldiers. His goal is to ensure that each of his students passes the maturity ceremony, which is the final evaluation that demonstrates an Axie's ability to meet frontier soldier standards. Alex is regularly attempting to flirt with the ladies, okay? Um, but it never seems to go quite as planned. Parang naalala ko yung sa Naruto, yung ano, si Tandang ano. Ano nga ba yun? Si Tandang Jiraiya? Oo, parang nakikita ko siya kay Oleg. Most of the time, his students end up saving him and everyone around from further embarrassment. Okay, since most of his body is plant-based, Alex has the ability to bury himself into the ground, which allows him to absorb the soil's nutrients and heal his injuries. So, meron siyang ano, okay, plant-based siya. So, meron siyang pang-heal, si Lolo Oleg. At ito naman kay Buba. Ayan. Buba is one of Oleg's young and promising Frontier Corp students. Buba was born in a small village near the forest. When he was a young lad, a Frontier Battalion marched to his hometown, which sparked an interest and later on his heart's dream to become the greatest a Frontier soldier ever. Okay, may history pala to si Buba. He is short-tempered, groomed, and overly meticulous. His rage can sometimes be so intense that it causes his eyes to spark electricity. Okay. Ay, okay. Beast pala siya. So meron siyang electricity na, no? Ability. Even though it sometimes doesn't come across, he truly cares for those that are closest to him and would do anything to help them. Kahit naman pala ganun siya, no? Si Buba. Sweet pa rin siya. Ayan. Buba loves his brush-shaped tail, even though he's a terrible artist. Ay, ano pala yun? Brush pala yun? Ito, yung tail niya. If you want to upset Buba, just try and mess up his tail. Sometimes, Buba's rage can be so intense that it causes his eyes to spark electricity. Okay. Siguro itong rage na to, ayun yung yung fear form. Diba yun? Okay, so yun yung kay Buba. Ito naman tayo kay Trip. Yan. Ay, beast rin. Pero bakit meron siyang ganito? Sa plant to, diba? Trip is a curious Axie who has an almost obsessive interest in acorns. As a younger boy, he one night dreamed that a massive, beautiful acorn fell from the sky and landed in the great forest, far away from the small village where he was raised. He woke up from that dream convinced it was a prophecy and formed the cult of Acorn as its first and only member. In his desperate search for the great acorn, Trip got lost in the forest. Fortunately, he was discovered by the old guardian who tried to help him find his way back home. Trip, while appreciative of the guardian's help, instead offered to become her protector to both repay the guardian's kindness and continue his search for the great acorn. Months passed, and while the bond between the old guardian and Trip grew, the great acorn was nowhere to be found. At the peak of his despair, he ultimately came across a trio of Oleg, Buba, and Puffy, and saw it and saw it as a sign to continue his quest. Talagang hindi siya tumitigil para sa acorn na yun. To discover the great acorn alongside them. Perk, Trip almost broke the Lunasian nut cracking contest record. Aba! He cracked 243 nuts in less than a minute. So, meron siyang nutcracker, panigurado, far exceeding the previous record of 124. Unfortunately, he ate them all, which disqualified him from being listed in the record books. Pero naano pa rin naman niya. Sana inano na lang nila. Kahit kinain na ni Trip yung mga Puffy, ayan. Puffy is one of Oleg's young, promising Frontier Corps students. Most find her to be incredibly cheerful, full of life, and perhaps even a little naive. But those closest to her know better. She can be very calculating and mischievous, even though she comes from a well-known family who lives in a small village near Lake Shrine. Puffy chose to establish her own identity and independence early in her life. She hopes that becoming a frontier soldier will allow her to visit all of the biggest cities in Lunasia and put her back in contact with her older brother, Puff, a legendary Axie. Oh, okay. Wait lang, pwede ba natin rito makuha? Sa starter Axie, ito. Her distinguishing characteristic, the colorful crab twin-tail horns, were a gift from her brother. When they were both growing up together, Puff and Puffy would often race up waterfalls, but Puff always seemed to get the upper hand. One day, Puffy came up with a trick of wrapping herself inside the water bubble. Okay, kaya pala, kasi aqua siya. To instead quickly float up the waterfall and finally win the race. Puff gave her the twin tail as a gift for her cleverness, and the water bubble continues to be an important battle tactic during her training. So, yung bubble pala na yun, okay, makikita natin yan sa Origin. Puffy can create a water bubble large enough to enclose herself and her allies, helping them float above the air. Okay. So, yan, si Puffy. Ito naman si Anna. Ang cute naman ito ni Anna. Ano siya? Plant ang niya. Pero ang cute ng niya, oh. Anna is an Axie born and raised in the forest as a lifelong servant of the Moon Shrine. In that role, she developed a close friendship with the guardian fairy and takes pride in caring for her needs. One day, while cleaning the shrine's basement, Anna found a hidden magical pouch. She and the guardian fairy discovered that this pouch could create a copy of any inorganic object. At the cost of the holder's energy, and if misused, perhaps their life. Sensing the danger of this artifact in the wrong hands, the old guardian bound the magical pouch to Anna, making her the only one who could use it. Okay. Anna really needs her beauty rest. She loves sleep so much that she sometimes even fall asleep in the middle of a fight. Kaya pala siguro ganyan yung mata niya. After meeting the trio of Oleg, Boba, and Puffy, Anna decided to join them and travel out of the forest for the first time in her life. One day, the small spring within the forest started to rapidly overflow and threatened to flood the nearby area. Anna used her duplicating pouch to copy and drop a giant boulder into the spring's opening. So ito yung skill niya siguro, no? This dried out spring leaves on today. Okay, yun. At ayun lang, yung mga starter Axies natin. Sila Puffy, Anna, okay. So, hindi ko sure kung sino dito yung tatlong magiging starter Axie natin. Tapos, siguro sila Oleg siguro, Buba, tapos si Puffy. Tapos itong dalawang to, si Trip saka si Anna, pagka kailangan natin, ma-unlock natin yung kapag, sa adventure. Okay, tapos, ayun, yun lang yung natin sa video na to. At ilang oras na lang, ayan, ano na, origin na. At matetesting na natin yung mga yon, lalo yung mga starter axes. So, ayan, thank you guys, and see ya. Bye!